On September 7, 2011, transportation leaders from across the state came together at the Piedmont Triad Regional Transportation Summit in Greensboro. Topics included the Business 40 Reconstruction Project, the Yadkin River Bridge Project, and the future of Interstate 74.
Our keynote speaker has had a distinguished career in public service, including as a state representative, state senator, and then as lieutenant governor. As a legislator, she worked to move North Carolina to a globally competitive 21st century economy. She has also been an advocate for mass transit and improvements to highway infrastructure. In 2008, she became the first woman elected governor in North Carolina, and since then, she has actively recruited new industry to our state and dedicated herself to creating and sustaining world-class public schools as a means of ensuring opportunity and prosperity for all citizens. She has also demanded the highest standards of efficiency and accountability in state government. And I just want to say one personal note here, because we know Irene was here just a couple of weeks ago actually, and in the newsrooms, my colleagues will attest, we're always trying to get someone to talk to us. And so we said, okay, call the governor's office, see who we can get to talk to us about what's going on at the coast. Well, by the time I got down to the phone interview and I said, hi, this is Carol Andrews. Well, this is Governor Bev Perdue. Not many things shock me, but Governor, I really appreciate that, and our viewers truly appreciated that. Ladies and gentlemen, the 73rd Governor of North Carolina, the Honorable Beverly Perdue.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here with you. Thank you, Carol. And before I even start my prepared remarks, let me thank all of you all in the Triad region for what you're doing for the hurricane victims. The East continues to have struggles, and the philanthropy of the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, the Baptist Men, and of many churches and communities is really making a tremendous difference in the lives of people who are totally without. So I thank you for that, and in other words, keep up sending the money down east. It's really important. I'm delighted to be here. I walked in with Gene Conte, who's Secretary of Transportation. Where are you, Gene? He's the man. Give him a round of applause. My worst nightmare is that Gene Conte would tell me he's going back to the private sector to make money and leave us alone. So you all kiss up to him while you're here today, please. I'm delighted also that Keith Crisco is in the house. Keith, where are you? Thank you, Keith Crisco. He calls himself a Triad resident. He knows everybody that you'll ever know. He's doing a fabulous job as Commerce Secretary, and we thank you for that leadership, Keith. I understand we've got some legislators here, and because I always remember to pay homage and honor to my bankers, to the state's bankers, we want to thank them. Don Vaughn walked in with me. Don, where are you? Don, thank you. Gladys Robinson, Marcus Brandon, and Alma Adams are in the house, and we thank all of you for being here. I think that Mayor Alan Joines is here. Alan is a great friend who is the chair of the Economic Development Board for North Carolina and understands fundamentally the ties you do between economic development and transportation. And we've got a team of wonderful DOT board members here. It's a fabulous board. They also understand how important it is to see North Carolina, and they've agreed to take their board meetings on the road, and I'm really grateful for that. Ralph Womble, Doug Gallion, a former board member who is Mr. Rhodes. I don't think Andy's here. Mike Fox is here. Is there another one at the table? Ralph Womble, I said. Thank you all. Give them a round of applause. So if you want to fuss about roads or bridges or airports, don't fuss at me. I'm just the governor. These are the people who really make the decision. Blame them, praise me. That's the name of the game. And I'm delighted that Matthew Dodge is here. I understand he's the new executive director of the merged Piedmont Regional Triad Council of Government, and that's important for all of us. You know, it's really good to see you all here. I was just told that you've gotten your sustainability grant for your Aerotropolis, and that's pretty cool that this whole partnership, all of you in this room, more than 300 of you today understand the connection between the economy and education and the environment and progress in North Carolina. They're inextricably linked. You can't separate one from the other. And I understand that as well as you do. And this whole concept that Secretary Conte is working with us and Secretary Crisco to develop around logistic networks for North Carolina is really important. We're trying to figure out how to put all the pieces together and to do it through innovation and creative financing to help build out a 21st century North Carolina. You know, when you look at the great cities of the world, there is always a common component. There is always a strong and vast transportation infrastructure, very diverse and productive business clusters, and centers of education and the arts. Those are the defining characteristics of any great culture in American or global history. Roads, bridges, rails, aviation, ports, and yes, pedestrian mobility, light rail and bike paths, all of those are important to the economy of a state and to the vitality of your local towns and cities. In North Carolina, we are blessed with all of the pieces of this logistics network, and our task is to maintain what we have, to expand where we can as quickly as we can, but to do so, my friends, with a clear, tight vision that focus on progress and fiscal control. We can always do better. Now, I know that, and I'm always looking for ways to make that happen. That's why last October, I signed an executive order to eliminate and reduce burdensome and unnecessary state rules and regulations on business. I understand that's a really critical part of the economy. That's why I signed another executive order that allows North Carolina companies a preference for state contracts and bids. It actually allows a company to have a second bite of the apple if an out-of-state company wins the contract. That's how we continue to grow jobs in North Carolina. And that's why, quite frankly, I care so deeply about education, because we have to have workers with skill sets that allow North Carolina to compete in a global economy. And so all of this are bound hand in glove. No matter what the current political winds or economic landscape is, hear me again, please. No matter what the current political winds or economic landscape is, we have to maintain our strong commitment to education, to infrastructure, to jobs, to moving the state forward, or surely we will go backwards. Now, I'm not the kind of political leader, because I've learned it over my life, to make promises. I don't make many promises. One of the promises I made way back in the day before I got into politics was if I could ever be in the General Assembly, I would pray I would live to see 17 4-lane from Virginia to South Carolina. I think I may die before that happens. And so because of that, I've been very cautious. But one promise I did make to a group of you and a group of folks across this state was that if I was elected governor, I was going to figure out a way to take the politics out of the Department of Transportation. I believed that needed to be done, and I committed that I was going to do it, and that we were going to change the way the Department of Transportation has historically done business. We were going to cut costs and prioritize to utilize more private sector firms and to do so on time and on budget. And that's why this administration, working with Gene Conte and Jim Trogdon and these DOT board members, has forced and pushed forward innovative funding in our transportation. We've created new ways to build roads and bridges and to improve North Carolina's infrastructure. I want to one more time thank you, thank these board members, and thank Secretary Conte. And let me tell you why that's important, because the old TIP, that's what it's called, the Transportation Improvement Plan, was right only about half the time. You'd see it and you'd think, I'm going to get this road or this bridge, and lo and behold, the year would come to start the right-of-way, and they'd say, oh me, we've just run out of money and we can't do that. And it got to the point where there were people telling us that you couldn't trust DOT. When they said something, you just couldn't trust them. And they'd say it would be built, and it wouldn't be built. And so even in the face, my friends, of the greatest economic downturn this nation has seen, and this state has seen since the Great Depression, I made those changes a reality. And with the economy suffering the way it was, these group of leaders helped me figure out a way to fund projects. When other states said it couldn't be done, North Carolina has led the way. I asked Secretary Conte and his team to be creative, to think big, to see what we could do to have more with less. We needed to keep people working while also making long-term investments in our infrastructure. The one thing I've learned about this current team of DOT leaders is don't ever ask them to think innovatively or creatively, because they will. And they will change the box and throw away the box, and that's exactly what we needed in North Carolina. The results have been astonishing, quite frankly. People all over the country are looking at what we're doing. We have found a way in this state to do things that nobody has ever done before, and that, quite frankly, many people thought were impossible. We created the Mobility Fund, and members of the General Assembly have helped us do that. This is a new funding tool which allows us to fund projects across North Carolina that are critical, essential to moving goods and people without being hindered by the equity formula. It's a major win for this state and our people. It's because of the Mobility Fund that we are in the process of building the Yadkin River Bridge. When people told us in Washington it wasn't a federal project and that there was no way they had the resources to make it happen, this group of leaders figured out a way to make it happen. And if the Lord's willing, about this time next year, we're going to walk across that sucker and celebrate that we did it in North Carolina. But while these projects have statewide impact and they are critical to our economic vitality, we still needed a transportation solution for the Triad. That's why you're here today, because you want to know what's happening and what you can count on for your region, for these counties. So we've pushed DOT again to come up with new solutions for the unique challenges that you face here in this region, which from my perspective, as an aside, is phenomenally vibrant. I have been so proud over the last 8 or 10 years to see a decade, to see 3 or 4 communities and many counties, some of which are rural, come together and craft out an economic strategy for the next 25 years that is second to nowhere in the entire country. You all have done that. Nobody whined and said we're losing all of our old jobs. You all came together as a region and crafted a new way of growing a vibrant economy in this region. I told DOT, because it's what I'm best at doing, I have never been one to accept no as an answer. I said, please don't tell me it can't be done. Please show me how to get it done. And this team has never let me down. Anything that we needed done, they have figured out a way to make happen. And they've done it legally, which is also very important. I believe we've found a way to move ahead more quickly than ever before. We are building projects, and we will work with anyone, any municipality or county in the state who wants to move faster than we are. If you want to bond it locally, we'll commit to paying you back with the traditional revenue sources. So you've got one option that's never been done before in the state. By moving in a different ways, whether it's tolls or all of the other things that I'm talking about, we can address the immediate needs of transportation issues throughout the state. And we can come in, and we are doing that, and focusing on the needs of the residents here in the Triad. And especially, I have to say, Winston-Salem, because they've been waiting so long. We will start buying the right-of-way on the first section of the Winston-Salem Loop in 2012. I'm proud of that. Construction, yeah. Secretary Conte is here to take notes that I don't change the dates. I know, because I've known to do that, aren't I, Jean? Construction will begin in 2014. This is a project that has never been scheduled before, and no real funding has ever been assigned to it, and you have got it in writing today. We'll continue. We will continue construction on the Western Greensboro Loop in 2013, and I can promise you that it'll be completed by 2020 or before that if we can figure out a way to parlay new resources into doing some things differently. That's written in stone. We will keep moving forward on the Eastern Loop and complete that by 2017. We will complete and close the entire loop project by 2020. And again, that's good news. We're going to accelerate the Salem Creek Parkway to the Research Park. I've seen that several times with my own eyes, and I think all of this work that you're doing as a region is critically important to job growth. That acceleration will begin in 2012, and we will get this effort underway because it impacts Greensboro's jobs too. You're a region tied together. What we do for one area is critically dependent for the rest of the region. The strategy, I have to tell you, the strategy is dependent upon leaders at all levels of government, local, state, and federal, acting on what they say they believe in, which is transportation infrastructure funding. If there is a cut in our state or in the federal funding, and I would hope you would postmark this to talk to your congressional delegation about, if there is a cut in our state or in federal funding, we will simply not be able to accomplish this, and we'll have to cut projects from this area and across the state to keep our business plan truth in reporting. I intend to keep the TIP factual. If it's there, you can take it to the bank, and if the feds or the state pulls out their money, we'll change the dates so people will know what they get. No business leader that I've ever spoken to wants us to stop enhancing our transportation system in this state. Not one community leader that I've ever met wants to slow us down on connecting people across North Carolina to the places they need to go or work or live. You've got to do